underwriting and doing the due diligence on apartment buildings is not the same as single family houses. But I'm a student to real estate, and maybe 10 years ago, I flew out to Charlotte and I did a boot camp on how to underwrite apartments. And so a lot of that stuff came back. I had Grant's book on buying apartments on my bookshelf. I hadn't read it up until that point because I didn't really need to because I wasn't buying commercial. But I read the book a few times, and then I really locked in on how to run the numbers. Because the fundamentals of structuring deals and underwriting deals is very much the same across the board. There's just more things in the due diligence process with the bigger properties.
Right.
And the long story short of it is Grant said something that's not just true for multifamily, it's true in general. Like real estate is a team sport. And when it comes to closing bigger deals, it's not, it is a little bit more work, but it's not too much more work. And it's expected to have partners, you know.
Now, this wasn't an on-market deal. How did you find that deal?
So over the years, I've amassed a huge network of investors and realtors. And so I just reached out to a bunch of realtors and brokers and said, hey, I'm looking for 25 units and above. You come across something, let me know. And in the multifamily space, that's typically how you find deals, you know, brokers, a lot of brokers in that space. You know, you want to build those relationships.
Now, for me, I'm trying so I can comp a single family, I can comp a duplex, something like that.
Can I offer you something?
Always.
Yeah. Give up the idea that you have a lot to learn.
Okay.
I've been doing this for 14 and a half years and I still have a lot to learn. So it's all relative. Like you have the ability to learn. And so as long as you have the ability to learn, that's just par for the course, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
For me, when I was rereading Grant's book, he had this diagram of how to underwrite deals on a napkin. Made it simple. Okay. What you need to understand about commercial real estate is there's a few different ways to evaluate the deal, but the most common is based on cap rate.
Right.
Now, what you need to understand about cap rate is that number is going to vary depending on the class of the asset.
Okay.
And when I say class of the asset, I mean the location. So Grant, when he buys apartments, he's an A-class buyer. That's his type of deal. He doesn't look for nothing else. He wants A-class, so it's all location. He wants high value assets. The thing about A-class assets is the cap rate tends to be a lot lower. When you're looking at commercial real estate, the add value is one of the most important parts. Yeah. But there's a series of different ways that you add value, and it really always comes down to the management and your ability to increase the rents.
Yep.
And so I forget the term that you look for, but it's basically, I'll describe what it is. So when you look at there's two things you request when you're dealing with commercial real estate. The OM, which is the offering memorandum. Okay. And the T12, which is the trailing 12 months of rent roll. Okay. So those are the two documents you need. On the in the T12 or the operating memorandum, there's gonna be what the market rents are and what the current rents are. Okay. I think they call it the lost rents or something like that. But typically it's the difference between what they're getting for rent and what they could be getting for rent. Right. Now you want the lost rents, I think that's what it's called. you want that to be at least 10% or 20%.
Okay.
So that means that you have the ability to raise the rent, and that's where you're adding the value. So that's one of the things you look for. The other thing you need to know about commercial real estate is when you're doing what is called CapEx, or capital improvements, or renovations. That's,
Okay.
when you're doing that, the purpose is to increase the not so much the value of the property,
Yep.
but what you can get for the property, and increase the maintenance and upkeep, essentially, if that makes any sense.
No, 100%. Yeah. What's your biggest advice for out-of-state investors? And you know what? I'll answer this first real quick. My biggest advice is build a team that knows what they're doing in that location. So if that location is Detroit, okay, build a team in Detroit that knows what they're doing. Your property management, your maintenance team, and somebody to look over everybody. Okay, and that person to look over everybody doesn't have to be physically there. They just have to know the area and know what to do. So they can come into town every once in a while, but they're at least keeping up with everybody, whether it be through email, phone, or anything like that. So that's my opinion. What about you, Gerald?
So, general answer.
Yep.
He says he owns 3 properties in 3 states. So my question is, what's the goal for the property? Are they rental properties? Are they vacation homes? Do you own them free and clear? Do you have mortgages? Like, all of that stuff matters, because you could lease option them. You could seller finance them. You can, use Airbnb or independent living, or there's a number of different ways that you can use it. And like Randy was saying, it's really you're gonna need a team to execute the plan.
Yep.
Which is not difficult. Generally speaking, when people get started with real estate, they kind of shy away from real estate agents or realtors. Realtors are one of my secret weapons for doing out-of-state investing. You just have to find the right ones. You want to find a hungry new real estate agent that's willing to learn, or you want to find a very experienced and well-connected realtor or broker and leverage that.
Okay.
And then just remember, at the end of the day, win, win, win. You really have to make it worth their while. You don't want to waste their time. And at the end of the day, you have to know what you're looking for from this investment, what type of return on that investment you're looking for.
Regular rentals. I would say exactly what I said earlier, because I was thinking they're regular rentals, and that's the advice that I was given.
Sure.
It's for regular rentals. So what about you?
So if they're all regular rentals, again, it really depends on. So early on, I used to do a lot of wholesaling and a lot of flipping houses. That's active income.
Yeah.
And like I said, because of COVID, I realized that I was lacking cash flow. I would make good money, but I'd have to flip a house in order to make another payday, flip a house.
Yep.
And so what I've learned now is cash flow is king, right? Cash flow is king.
Cash flow is king, buddy.
Right?
That's right.
So when you're cash flowing, after you make cash flow, now you really want to optimize it. And you want to reduce your liability. So that's why I said, potentially a lease with option might work, because on a lease with option, you could get a $10,000, $15,000 payday. You could charge a little bit more in rent per unit, because they have an interest in buying the property at some point. And if you did that and say they didn't end up exercising their option, you can do it all over again and get another payday. And so there's a number of different ways to monetize that asset. It's really gonna come down to what your debt situation is on the property, and which, what roles these properties play in your portfolio.
Yeah, 100%. I like very similar to a lease option. That if they don't allow lease options, you can go this way.
It's
So,
maybe a contract for deed.
yeah, contract
Yep.
for deed,
Yep.
or deed of lieu, or
Right.
no, not deed of lieu, but yeah,
Yeah.
contract for deed. So,
Yeah, and that's similar to contract for deed is very much similar to subject to almost. I mean,
yep,
it kind of
yeah,
works a little bit the same, but again, my point is there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, for sure, and it's always going to come back to what type of return are you looking for these assets?
yeah,
How you maximize the assets? I'll give you this too. If you're thinking about the short-term rental space, you might want to find someone you can co-host with.
yeah,
And so the benefit of that is, by doing that type of collaboration on your units, they're going to manage the day-to-day with, hosting the property. You'll be able to get a little bit more than the market rate on the rents, and you won't have a long-term tenant. So you'll benefit from the property being cleaned more often and frequent, and you'll be able to fluctuate with the market as rents continue to rise. And typically you can, if you're doing a co-host, depending on how you structure the agreement, you might do some profit sharing on either side of that. So there's a number of different ways to go about it.
100%.